Meetings, you're having them all day long and they're not as effective as they could be. You know this. My name is Darren and you're at the home of Sticky Learning, MBM, trainers to the UK grocery industry. This is another short and sticky story about meetings. Along with emails, you spend most of your time doing either those or meetings, and they're not as productive as you want. Most people feel this, they could be a lot more effective. And maybe in the past you've reached for a book or you've done some research online to try and figure out how to make meetings more effective. And what you've probably found is that the advice is about setting objectives. Objectives is good advice. It's just not great advice. And that's because how many people really set objectives for meetings? They do for the really, really important ones, but beyond that, the day-to-day meetings, they don't. Smart objectives would be ideal. But for me, it's the difference between, if you've seen the film A Few Good Men, it's the difference between paper law, as Sam says when he's fighting a court case with Tom Cruise, the difference between paper law and trial law. It's the difference between someone writing a book who's intellectually right. You should have objectives for meetings, but in reality, it ain't going to happen. So let me see if I can share a story about how you might do it differently, and I'll follow up with some practical tips that I hope will help. When I was a kid, we had maybe more changes of seasons than we seem to now. We had extreme summers, it seemed, and extreme winters, although maybe I look back at my childhood with rose-coloured glasses. I remember going to school one day and it had been snowing all night. I'd woken up, I was probably about 9 years old, and how excited I was. The snow was on the ground. And walking to school was really exciting. You've probably had that feeling. And throwing snowballs at each other all day, going out to the playground, fabulous. Over the next couple of days, the snow fades and it's not as exciting, but playing snowballs, the best place to get your snowballs, to get them into a ball, was at the bottom of a tree where the snow had drifted up against the tree. You probably know what I mean. So you go up to the base of the tree, grab a load of snow, make it into a snowball and throw it at the nearest kid. Fabulous. My point of saying that is if you were to look at a tree when it's snowed, you'll see that the snow drift is on either side. I'm suggesting that to have more productive meetings, you should have more meetings. You won't find that in any book. And if the tree is a meeting, then what happens is the actions and the things that get done are the snow to the right and the snow to the left of the tree. So if you want to get more done from the meetings, you want people to take more actions, you'll find what they do is think, I've got a meeting today at 2 o'clock, damn, I should have done that action from last week. And people do their actions either just before the meeting or they come out of a meeting and think, okay, I'll get that done while it's fresh in my mind. So they get their actions done just before the meeting or just after the meeting. So if you want more productive meetings, make them shorter and make them more frequent. So instead of an hour every 2 weeks, I'd have a half an hour every week. Because what that does is hold people's feet to the fire. They do it for themselves and you can do it. The meeting's coming up, they'll get their actions done. Or you hold their feet to the fire. Why didn't they do their actions in the meeting? Or they'll come out of the meeting and think either because you have said it or because the action is fresh in their mind, they need to get this done. So the metaphor is, imagine a whole row lined up with trees, a whole road lined up with trees and the snow drift either side. The snow represents the actions that people do just before or just after, and the trees represent the meetings. So in summary, if you want to have more productive meetings, make them shorter and make them more frequent. So that's the snow tree metaphor. The other part I'd like to share with you is something called ACE. if you can imagine the Ace of Spades playing card. The books say that we should have objectives before we go into the meeting, and they're right. We're unlikely to do that, although we know it's intellectually correct. My suggestion, if your meeting is typically an hour and typically 6 people, as you go into that meeting, take the role of chair. And what that means is grabbing a piece of paper and taking the first 7%, 7 minutes of a meeting and writing down the agenda points that you want to nail in that meeting. So the first part is, what do we want to nail in this meeting? Agenda point A, agenda point B, and you're writing them down. And you write a full list. The second part of that is, only once you've written a full list do you then agree with the group what are the top 3 that we want to get done, and you star those, and it might be C, F and G, it doesn't really matter. The important part, and this is where your facilitation skills will be challenged, is when you write the list, don't allow the group to debate the list. Just get a full list of what everyone thinks we ought to cover in this meeting. Great, you've written that down on an A4 page in front of them. Second part is, what do we absolutely need to crack? Take Pareto's law, the 80-20. What's the 20% that will make 80% of the difference? And it's normally 3 things, and make a star by those. Again, you must stop the group debating and having the meeting. This is just structuring the meeting of what we want to get done. So the first letter is A of ACE, and that's agenda. Make sure you take the first few minutes of a meeting to write the agenda. The second part is C, and that's capture. Absolutely make sure that someone captures the actions. We've all been in meetings which were great, and then come out of those, there are no actions. No one knows what really was supposed to be done, but you think Ron or Bob should have done it, and then guaranteed you come back to the next meeting and Ron and Bob both look at each other and say, I thought you were doing it. And the whole meeting was non-productive. So the C is for capture. Make sure someone captures the actions, and really, really simply, if they capture it on a piece of paper, 3 columns. The first is the what. So the first column is what. What is the action? The second column is who. Who is the person that's going to get it done? And the next column is when. When are they going to get it done by? So you've got the what, the who, and the when. Ideally, for speed, you want someone to type that straight into their laptop. Bear in mind there is a risk with that whilst they're typing actions, maybe they'll just have a glimpse at their emails. So you'll need to be the judge of whether they can write it down or type it straight into their laptop. So that gives us the C, which is capture. And the last one is taking a few moments at the end for E, which is evaluation. This is all about continuous improvement and making the meetings better for the future. It shouldn't be a 20-minute debate, it should be a few minutes, a maximum of about 3-4 minutes. What one thing could we do from this meeting next time to make it more effective? Well, we should get Bob to attend, or we should make it 45 minutes, or we should hold it in venue B. Whatever that thing is, you as the chair then take that, it gets added to the actions for next time, and what you'll find is you're continuously improving that meeting and its productivity output. So that's ACE. So imagine the Ace of Spades. You've got A for agenda, C for capture, and E for evaluation. When someone captures the actions, just the last point to note is make sure that they number the actions. So when you come back to them next time, because remember this might be a conference call, we're going through action 1, action 2, action 3, and the very first thing we ought to do at the next meeting is pull out the previous actions to see if they have been done. Let's not create another 20 actions before we figure out whether the first 20 we created in the last meeting have actually been actioned. So in summary, snow trees, because people do their actions just before or just after a meeting. So if you want more productive meetings, have more of them, but make them shorter. Remember, Outlook defaults to either half an hour or an hour, but there's no reason it can't be 20 minutes or 45 minutes. And then the next part is remember the ace of spades. A stands for A, agenda, C, capture, and E, evaluation. I hope you'll have many more productive meetings. Thank you.